Last night, you went to bed at midnight. Maybe later, you told yourself you'd catch up on sleep this weekend. You've been telling yourself that for 3 years. And right now, as you watch this, there's a version of you that feels fine, functional, maybe even productive. But here's what nobody told you. The most dangerous thing about chronic sleep deprivation isn't how bad it feels. It's how normal it starts to seem. We live in an era that celebrates exhaustion. The entrepreneur working until 2 a.m. The student pulling all-nighters before exams. The parent who sacrifices sleep for the only quiet hours of the day. Somewhere along the way, sleeping less became a badge of honor, a signal of ambition, a prerequisite for success. Beat. And the message was clear. Sleep is negotiable. Sleep is for the weak. Sleep is what you do when everything else is done. But here's the problem with that story. Your biology never got the memo. Think about your last full week. Not vacation. A normal week. How many nights did you actually sleep 7 hours or more? If you're like most people, the answer is uncomfortable. Studies suggest that roughly 1 in 3 adults regularly sleeps less than 6 hours per night. Not occasionally, regularly. And what's fascinating and terrifying is that most of them don't consider themselves sleep deprived. They've adapted. Or so they believe. Because here's the thing about functioning on too little sleep. Your performance drops. Your perception of your performance doesn't. Beat. In other words, the less you sleep, the worse you become at noticing how impaired you actually are. It's like being drunk and insisting you're fine to drive. Except this happens every single day, and there's no breathalyzer for exhaustion. So what actually happens inside your body when you consistently sleep less than 6 hours? Not one bad night. Not jet lag. But the chronic accumulated effect of cutting your sleep short. Week after week, month after month. What changes? What breaks down? What systems start to fail before you even feel them failing? This is not a video about sleep tips. This is not about morning routines or blue light glasses. This is about understanding what you're actually trading away every time you tell yourself you'll sleep when you're dead. Because the research on this is clear. And it's not subtle. Let's go inside. Before we talk about what goes wrong, let's be clear about what sleep is actually for. Because it's not rest. Not really. Sleep is when your brain cleans itself. Literally. There's a system called the glymphatic system, discovered only in the last decade, that flushes toxins and metabolic waste from your brain tissue. It only works efficiently when you're asleep. Specifically, during deep sleep. One of the things it clears? Beta amyloid. The protein that accumulates in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Sleep is also when your memories consolidate, when your emotional experiences get processed, when cellular repair happens across nearly every organ in your body, when your immune system recalibrates, when hormones that regulate hunger, stress, and growth get balanced. Sleep isn't downtime, it's system maintenance. And when you cut it short, you're not skipping rest, you're skipping repair. So what happens when you consistently get less than 6 hours? The research is extensive, and it's not encouraging. First, your brain starts to underperform. Reaction times slow. Problem-solving deteriorates. Creative thinking becomes harder. After just 1 week of sleeping 6 hours per night, cognitive performance drops to the level of someone who has been awake for 24 hours straight. But you won't feel that impaired. That's the insidious part. You'll feel a little tired, maybe a little foggy, but functional, normal. The gap between perceived performance and actual performance widens every day you stay in deficit. Second, your emotional regulation changes. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control, judgment, and rational thinking, becomes less active when you're sleep deprived. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your brain's threat detector, becomes hyperactive. The result? You're more irritable, more reactive, more likely to perceive neutral situations as threatening, less capable of managing stress. That argument you had last week? That moment you overreacted? That decision you regret? Chronic sleep deprivation doesn't cause these things, but it makes them far more likely. Third, your body starts resisting itself. Sleeping less than 6 hours per night has been shown to increase insulin resistance, even in healthy young adults, within days. This means your body becomes less efficient at regulating blood sugar, which increases your risk of type 2 diabetes, which is linked to heart disease, kidney problems, nerve damage, and more, and it doesn't stop there. Chronic sleep deprivation raises cortisol levels, the stress hormone, which over time contributes to fat accumulation, muscle loss, and immune suppression. Beat, your body isn't just tired. It's aging faster than it should. What makes this so dangerous is the cascade. You sleep less. Your hunger hormones shift. Ghrelin rises, leptin falls. You crave more food, especially high-calorie, high-sugar food. You eat more. You gain weight. Weight gain leads to poorer sleep quality. Poorer sleep quality makes everything worse. You sleep less. Your emotional regulation suffers. You become more anxious. Anxiety makes it harder to fall asleep. You sleep less. You sleep less. Your immune function drops. You get sick more often. Being sick disrupts your sleep. You sleep less. These aren't separate problems. They're feedback loops. And once they start, they reinforce themselves. The early signs are easy to miss because they look like normal life. You forget small things, names, appointments, where you put your phone. You chalk it up to stress, to being busy, to getting older. You feel less motivated, less creative, less interested in things you used to enjoy. You wonder if you're burning out, if something is wrong with you. You get sick more often, colds that linger, minor infections that take longer to clear. You blame the season, the weather, bad luck. You feel more irritable, more impatient, less like yourself. You wonder if this is just who you're becoming. But in many cases, the answer is simpler than you think, and harder to accept, because accepting it means admitting that the lifestyle you've built might be slowly breaking you down. Now, before we go further, let's be clear about what this doesn't mean. This is not about guilt. One bad night won't ruin your health. A stressful week won't cause permanent damage. Life happens. Sleep gets interrupted. That's human. And this isn't about perfection. 8 hours isn't a moral achievement. Some people genuinely need less. A small percentage, truly small, are genetic short sleepers. But for most people, the math is simple. Consistently sleeping under 6 hours has measurable documented consequences. Not because sleep is a luxury, but because it's a biological requirement. Like water, like food, like air. The reason so many people dismiss this is because adaptation feels like success. You can get used to almost anything, including dysfunction. Your body will find ways to keep you going, to get through the day, to meet the deadline, but coping is not thriving. And the absence of collapse is not the same as health. The damage from chronic sleep deprivation is often invisible until it isn't. It accumulates quietly, in your arteries, in your neurons, in your cells. And by the time it becomes visible, through disease, through cognitive decline, through burnout, reversing it becomes much harder. So what do you do with this information? Not panic, not overhaul your entire life overnight, but maybe observe. Start noticing how you feel after 5 hours versus 7. Start noticing when you reach for caffeine, and why. Start noticing the quality of your decisions when you're rested versus when you're running on fumes. Because awareness is the first step, not discipline, not optimization. Awareness. Once you see the pattern, the motivation to change comes naturally. Not from fear, but from understanding. We've built a world that treats sleep as an obstacle, as something to defeat, as the enemy of productivity. But sleep isn't the enemy. It never was. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. The thinking, the creating, the connecting, the living. And maybe the most productive thing you can do tonight isn't to work another hour, or watch another video, or scroll through another feed. Maybe the most productive thing you can do is turn off the screen, close your eyes, and give your body what it's been asking for all along.